Hi, I'm John Palino, and welcome to the show where we meet restaurateurs and chefs, and we go behind the scenes and we talk about things that you actually never really hear about. Their life, why they're in the business, all those things. Today on the show we got Luca Villari, a great chef here in New Zealand, and I know him for quite a long time. Luca.
Ciao, buongiorno. Come stai?
Hey, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
So, the restaurant business. So, you grew up in the business, didn't you?
Yes, definitely. Well, Volo is my restaurant in Mount Eden, and it's actually a pizzeria. It's a local little neighbourhood place.
That's right, and you were voted best pizza in New Zealand.
Had that claim to fame and recognition a few times now.
Fantastic pizza,
and
really is.
You know, we still try and keep the standards up and keep it going. We've been going since 2004, and yes, I did it. You know, I grew up in the family business. My dad had a little pizzeria in Takapuna on the North Shore.
Wow.
About 32 years ago, and it was called Mario's Pizzeria. So his was one of the first pizzerias in Auckland.
Really?
And I was 10 years old, and I would go work there during the holidays, and I told you the story before. It's a little bit embarrassing, but the old man would pay me 10 cent a pizza box, you know. And the great thing about it now, my son Christian, who's 16, he works in my pizzeria 1 or 2 nights a week, just washing dishes, and I'm teaching him how to roll balls.
And
but,
how much are you paying him?
minimum wages these days, John. You know,
So,
I wish it was 10 cents a pizza box,
you
but
know,
it's not. It's changed.
Oh, God. So, wow, 10 years old you started. I always started when I was 14. My dad said you have to be this high before you can start.
Yeah.
And I used to work a 14-hour day for $20.
Wow.
You know, which was great. I loved it.
How times have changed, unfortunately.
You know, you put all that money away. You know,
Yeah.
it's actually good. So, what are you doing now? You got the pizzeria, and
I've got the pizzeria.
you do some consulting too.
Yes, I do restaurant consultancy work, which is great. I just set up a place on the shore recently for a client. I do a lot of catering. My wife's got her own event management company, and I do the food side of that business.
Oh, terrific.
So I juggle a few things, but I'm always at my pizzeria. You know, that's comes from the heart, and it's something that I really love, you know, and enjoy doing. You know, you've been there a couple of times yourself, I think.
Oh, look, absolutely. You know, I had Sal Rose, and that was my mom's recipe. Sal and Rose being my parents. Sal and Rose. Well, tell us about your dad a little bit.
My father, Attilio, he was incredible. He was an incredible man. We lost him a couple of years ago, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
But you know, he taught me a lot, and he shaped me to be who I am today, and taught me this work ethic. You know, which I'm trying to teach to my own staff and my son. You know, restaurant business is tough. You know what it's like, John. So I'm constantly evolving and pushing and trying new things. You know, gone are the days where you just open the door and, you know, people just flock in. It's so competitive, constant evolution, you know. Doing, always trying new things. Constantly got to evolve, you know. the platforms these days with, you know, delivery service, etc. That's something that we weren't doing a few years ago, but hey, we have to do it now, you know. That's what the customer, the consumer wants, you know. Yeah. I feel like people are getting a little bit lazier these days. They just sit on their couch and pick up their phone, and they want our product delivered, you know. Yeah. With me personally, I don't think you can beat something, you know, a product, a wood-fired pizza that's come straight out, you know, hot out of the oven onto a plate in front of you, you know. And that's the beauty about El Volo, you know, it's an open kitchen, and it's live theatre all the time, and you know what it's like.
Especially with you there and all this theatre,
yeah,
right?
you know, I'm pretty loud kind of.
Do you ever scream and yell at the staff? Like?
No. I'm not like my old boss, you know, our friend.
Who's that?
You know the one. I won't mention his name.
Okay.
My mentor. So I worked at, you know, Chin Chin for about 10 years. He knows who he is. But I learned a lot of the two brothers, and you know, I'm very calm and collected with my staff. You know, so you're probably watching this.
He's gonna be.
Charles, how are you?
Was he the one that yelled?
A couple of times.
I'll have to give him a call after this.
Yeah. Anyway.
So you actually spent your earlier life in Italy, didn't you?
Yes, I was born in Australia, and yes, I'm Australian a little bit. But I was 6 months old, and family moved to Fondi Latina, which is about 2.5 hours south of Rome, and I grew up there. So 6.5 years old, moved back to Australia, and I learned how to speak English when I was 7. So
Wow.
I'm fluent in Italian, but I'm not broken like my father was. And then 10 years old, we moved to New Zealand, and I've been here ever since.
Wow.
And,
That had to be a great experience living in Italy, though.
yeah, definitely. We come from a small town, about 65,000 people. It's a small village up in the hills. A lot of that region is famous for salamis, prosciuttos, things like that. Buffalo mozzarella. We've got this incredible mozzarella factory just down the road from my nonna's house. You get up in the morning and you can smell this incredible aroma. It's basically cools you, you know.
Oh my God.
It's incredible.
I get chills thinking about it.
Yeah, Fondi's got this huge agroturisto, I think it's called, and it's fruit, produce. It all comes from around that region. So very cool town. We go back every couple of years.
So there's really something special about the fruits and the vegetables and all the ingredients you can get in Italy that would you say quite different than here?
Absolutely. For example, the produce we get in New Zealand now is fantastic. I import a lot of prosciutto and salamis from Italy for the pizzeria. I've got a cheesemaker from Puglia that hand pulls this whole, the mozzarella that I use for our Volo. Some of these old traditional skills from Italy now that people are coming over here and doing. Tomatoes, for example, like the tomatoes that I use on the pizza are San Marzano, that grown around Napoli. Certain kind of tomatoes that you would find over here, we don't get over here.
Yeah.
But produce-wise, New Zealand is great. Salamis, prosciuttos, anything like that, I import. We use the best pizza, Caputo, and that comes from Napoli also. So I'm doing a bit of both to create this unique product that I got.
It's quite special, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Was your mom a cook?
Yes, my mum was a cook. So in the old pizzeria, the dad used to do pizza. I was folded the pizza boxes at 10 cents a box, and mum was in the kitchen. She'd be doing the polpetti, the meatballs that I got on my menu now. You asked me before, I call it Mama's meatballs. It's an old recipe of hers. Polpette, meatballs, something that I know you used to do at Sal Rose.
Yeah.
So all these little traditional things, I do a little bit in the restaurant. The restaurant at the end of the day is about me, my personality, and how I grew up. When I go to Latina in my hometown, my grandmother, for example, she's 86, she still cooks. And I'll go home, I'm not allowed in the kitchen because in my household, I'm a male, I'm a chef, and it's almost like a disgrace. You shouldn't be cooking.
Wow.
So they won't let me in the kitchen. So the little few recipes that I've pinched along the way just from watching them
really
do their thing. My nonna's incredible. She does, gnocchi by hand, all fast. All the pasta she makes, no recipes, just touch, feel, pizzico, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's very unique and interesting. But the male in the kitchen back home, it's a sin. I'm not allowed in there.
Really?
So, you know what? If I'm not welcome in there, I'll go back to New Zealand and do it over there, do my own thing.
Do you have any dishes that you remember growing up that are your favorite dishes?
Melanzane sotto olio, which is something that Nonna and Mum used to do all the time, which is just eggplant in oil, a little bit of garlic, oregano, all these little traditional things that you probably wouldn't find over here, but it's something that we possibly will do at home, kind of thing.
So the as you know, I'm Italian and grew up in an Italian family, but in the States. And but that was a real good foundation, which I guess for yourself too, to be able to grow up with all that culture and to be able to bring a piece of that to New Zealand, which is wonderful. So after working for your dad, what was the first job you had?
I worked for...
Where you got paid?
Exactly. So my first job was in a little local pizzeria in Browns Bay for a guy called Gianni Vallone. And I was making pizza. I was getting paid $250 a week to work 7 days. But I guess
7 days.
I learned the craft, which is something that I fell in love with. And I stayed there for a few years, but I wanted to evolve. And we used to deliver ice cream. We walked into this place and I was just blown by this beautiful restaurant. I thought to myself, wow, and they've got a wood-fired oven. I want to learn this craft. I want to learn something different. So I fell in love with what they were doing there, and an opportunity came up, and they were looking for a pizza chef, and I thought to myself, I want to go and learn. I don't care what they pay me, and that's how I learned.
And you worked there for quite a long time, didn't you?
10 years. I started
10
as a
years.
little young pizza boy, and I ended up executive sous chef kind of thing. And then I actually went to Wildfire a couple of years later, and I was executive chef there. Same boss, he was my mentor, the one that we talked about before. And we opened another one on the shore. And then I got into catering, which I did for 10 years, and I thought to myself, I've inherited all these different skills and crafts, and I want to do my own thing one day, but always kept in mind that I loved wood-fired pizza, hence why I've ended up doing my own thing now.
I remember when I first moved here, Chin Chin's, boy, that was really a top restaurant, wasn't it? That was just amazing.
Far out, John. To be honest with you, we were doing 1,000 people a day during the America's Cup and the Whitbread, breakfast, lunch and dinner. We cooked at such intensity, and it's skills that I've kind of kept going to this day. But we were a different breed of chef back then,
Oh yeah.
And
restaurants were different.
They were.
Back then.
They were. A lot has changed. I mean, Auckland's changed. It's a lot more competitive now. But you've got to constantly keep working, and you've got to be there all the time. And like I said, it's not what it used to be. You just open a restaurant and the crowds flock. You've got to be constantly on top of your game. And that's what's kept us going. Constant evolution and trying new things, changing, playing around, experimenting.
Absolutely. It's an exciting business, and it takes a lot to work it, and the hours are incredible. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, so Chin Chin's, Wildfire, then you got into consulting, or no, you got into catering?
Catering.
Yeah.
I worked for Dawson's Catering. That's one of the top catering companies in Auckland. He was another mentor of mine, Graham Dawson. So I've had a couple of really great mentors over the years. Lewis Farrick and Tonchi from Chin Chin. Yeah. Graham Dawson's from Dawson's Catering. Hence why my little catering business that I do with my wife, and I've got the restaurant side of things. And like I mentioned earlier on, I do some consultancy work now.
Yeah. So what are you doing now as far as consultancy?
I just set up a place on the shore in Milford actually for a client, and that was basically from scratch.
What's that called?
It's called the Milford Cafe Restaurant and Bar.
Terrific.
So the guys in Milford, and it was just basically an old Italian restaurant that they've renovated, brought back to life, changed it around, open breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it's quite a challenging thing to do, starting from scratch and going in there, and we set it all up, did the menus, staffed it.
But it was, I remember you telling me a story, but you got in there after the kitchen was designed.
Yeah.
Which is a problem, isn't it?
It could be really hard when designing a restaurant, John. I suggest that you leave the kitchen design to a restaurant, on this occasion.
To a chef to
a chef rather, yeah. And it was designed by some architects that probably are not quite chefs. So the tricky part about that particular place, it was visually beautiful, incredible, the kitchen. And then one of my biggest struggles was trying to figure out how to plate for 100 people in such a small enclosed areas, which could be quite tricky. So we got there in the end, changed a few things around, and that was my biggest challenge. But that was great in regards to consultancy work. It's just another thing that I'm doing right now.
So do you normally consult kitchen end of it, or you do the whole restaurant?
Kitchen end of it.
Yeah.
Usually the kitchen end of it. Yeah. I mean, that's my forte. That's my domain. And I'll bring people in if they want the front of house consultancy work also,
Well, which is amazing because it's really hard to find staff here.
Exactly.
And to find good people, and it's hard, very hard,
Yeah.
Because the good people, they're in their places, and
they have their own places,
or they have their own places, or they don't move around too much, so it's really hard to get them. Okay, so after Dawson's Catering, what was after that?
Got into our Volo, basically.
Oh, really? Right after that?
So
okay.
The thing is, the interesting,
No, actually, didn't you do a place in Mount Eden?
Oh yes, sorry. I set
Yeah.
up another place in Mount Eden called the Eden Cloakroom.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So I did that for about 3 years, and then went back to Dawson's and helped him out for a couple of summers. Now that place is in Mount Eden also. I'm kind of based myself around that area, and we used to go across the road to a place called the Corner Store, and you could sit across the road at the Corner Store, have a beer, and order pizza from across the road. And it was Al Volo 8-19 years ago. Very small, John. At that stage, John Palino, the owner, had it, and it was just a takeaway. And you could order pizza from Al Volo and have it over the road. And I was just infatuated by it. And I thought to myself, far out, this is like what I was doing at Chin Chin, but next level. I'm really interested in learning. And I'd go over the road there and I'd talk to him, and I'd be watching, how do you do all this? Or how do you make the doughs? And he would say to me, basically in Italian, fatti cazzi tuoi, which means mind your own business. Like, I'm not going to teach you my secrets. And I'll be hassling him, one day you're going to teach me the secret to this. Maybe I'll buy this place off you. And he goes, I will never sell this place off you. John Peter's an old guy. And the opportunity came up later on. He had enough. He'd been in hospital for such a long time, and I think he wanted to have a break and go to Italy. And I heard that was on the market, so I rushed in there, convinced my wife, this is what I want to do, darling. This is something that's in my heart. I want to do my own thing. Now is the time. I've been working for all these people, setting up different places. You come to a stage in your career, I think you need to venture out on your own. And that's the hardest, trickiest thing. Yeah. Because, at the end of the day, somebody's paying your wage each week, but when you've got to go out and do it yourself, it's a whole lot of different pressure. And you got to pay everybody else's wage, and you're responsible for them. Yeah. It's that's how it is right now. Yeah. So in the beginning, it was hard. It was a struggle, and we just keep going. And I've always juggled a few things, and the risk paid off. And John, all along I thought to myself, far out, I should have done this a few years ago, but it's scary having your own business, and we've managed to survive, and we've expanded and we've grown, but you need a strong crew around you. I can't do it on my own. My wife is the most incredible support, and my staff, thank God to those guys, and they've made me who I am today. You rely on people. It's not a one-man show, Yeah, I mean, one of the things you always worry about, especially being the owner and working in it, is what if I get sick? Yeah. You got to go in. You got to get in. I have to, unfortunately, but I've got a really good crew, and that enables me to do other things. My pizzeria, my head chef there, Lance, and so I can branch out and do my catering or do the restaurant consultancy, and without my team, I'm nothing. So thanks, guys. Absolutely. So there's a lot of years in the restaurant business. So you got some stories for me? I'm going to tell you one. It's not from my own pizzeria, but okay, good. I was running Wildfire. I was executive chef there in Christmas week. You can't imagine the numbers that we do there. It's huge. And it was the week before Christmas, and we might have had about 250 booked for lunch, another 400 for dinner. It was intense, and Wildfire is connected to Euro, and there's the flue up the top. And we just did a massive lunch service, John, ready for dinner. And about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the sprinklers start to go off. And we're out the back prepping, and all of a sudden, water going everywhere, and we're all running around like headless chickens. What's going on? So up in the flue somewhere, there must have been some smoke, fire, little fire maybe. Well, there was no fire, but next thing you know, 8 fire trucks come in, and we had to shut the place down, and there was water going everywhere. We're trying to prep, absolute nightmare. So just did 250 for lunch, John, 450 booked for dinner because we had 2 services. We had to shut it down. We had to shut it down, water everywhere, absolute disaster. So myself, my bosses, I think they were there, and all the management, we had to block off every entrance, and people started to come in around 4:30. Hey, listen, guys, due to a fire or an incident, we can't open tonight. And people just wouldn't take no for an answer. I don't care. We're here. We've come all the way from Hamilton. There's 60 of us on a tour bus, and we just couldn't open. So the kitchen was flooded, and we had to clean everything out.
And that, I think that happened to all the restaurants along there.
Yeah,
didn't it?
exactly.
It was all at the same time, yeah.
I'm talking about the busiest day of the year.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine what that was like? Complete disaster.
Where did the people go? There's no, because everybody else would have been booked solid.
So, you know, can you imagine, like, all the big tour buses came, and then they will find us somewhere else. I mean, the only place we could really try was Sky City, and like, you just can't take 50 people, can you? So there was a lot of very unhappy people. So I think people just started to spread around. We you know, tried to get them to Ponsonby and nearby areas, but that's got to be the most trickiest scenario I've ever had to come across, you know.
Did you ever, that was one story.
I know you try to.
It's good, because people don't realize the amount of pressure we go through in the restaurant business. Whether, did you ever have a time where a chef didn't show up, or?
On many occasions, John. At the end of the day, I've just got to do it, and I can ring around and ask, friends to help me out, etc. At the end of the day, people come to Volo, they walk in. They've probably got their own problems, or they don't care about your own problems. You got to open up with a smile on your face. Hey, how's it going? How's your day? You just got to get it done. We always got to deliver all the time. But what goes on behind the scenes, it doesn't matter. As soon as you open the door, it gets left there.
That's right.
My role as an owner, I'm an owner, I'm a chef, I'm also a counsellor to my staff, I'm a dad to them. I have to put on many different hats, and that's what it takes to keep the place going. Any restaurant owner or business owner will tell you the same thing. There's many roles that I have to do, and because the paying customer comes in and they don't care what goes behind the scenes stays behind the scenes. They want their product, they're paying for it, and they leave with a smile. And
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you really have to love this business. We do it because we love it. We love entertaining the people. We love being with the people. We love making them happy. Because if you didn't have that love, it's almost impossible.
I agree.
To do.
And it shows in your product, and it shows in with your business. I've been doing it for such a long time. I've been put under so much stress and pressure, but that's all I know. When I started working at Chinchin, I had a full-grown, head of hair, ask Lewis. And now I've lost it all. Man, that's what the industry has done to me. Look at me, I'm full of wrinkles. But you know what, John? I still come to work, and the moment I light up that oven, the smell of the wood excites me. And it's something that I just love doing. I don't really know how to do anything else, to be honest with you.
It's a great
and it's still in my heart, and I'm passionate about it. And I think the moment I don't feel any passion for it anymore, it's just time for me to do something else. Thank God I'm still like reasonably young, and my legs are still working, and so are my arms. And as long as I can pick up a pizza and put it in the oven, as long as I can do catering, as long as I can do what I can, and my body still keeps me going, I'll do it.
It's actually, after all these years, I realized chefing is really hard work. I mean, I've had chefs who, their knees are shot, can't work anymore, or their elbows, whatever. I mean, it's almost like playing sports. There's heavy lifting, and there's quick movements, and you got to be in good shape all the time. Otherwise, you almost end up you can't work as a chef anymore.
I try to be active and work out, and I go walk my dogs every morning for 45 minutes, and just being active, and I eat well. My wife is vegan, and we try and look after ourselves.
Yeah.
My father, he had a heart attack when he was 48. Would you believe it?
Wow.
He was a chain smoker and a little bit overweight, and cholesterol's, high blood pressure. I don't want to be like that. So, it's important we look after ourselves now, and my wife's taught me a lot about this, and dieting, and stay healthy, and being active. But like I had a massive catering week last week that I just talked to you about, and I had to sit in the bath, lie in the bath for 2 hours, mate, because I couldn't feel my legs.
Man.
So again, behind the scenes, at the end of the day, I come to work and I still got to keep going. So touch wood, I'll be doing this for a few more years.
Yeah.
And then I want to retire like my old boss there, Lewis Ferrall, and go hunting. That'd be nice.
my father would have done anything possible not to let me go into restaurant business. Any plans for your son?
Well, John, to be honest with you, I've got him working there a couple of nights a week now. At school holidays, he'll work 2 or 3, but I don't want him to do what I do.
Yeah.
I want him to understand and see what back-breaking work that it is. I want him to use his brain. He's a very intelligent kid, but this is all I know, and I don't want him to end up like me. It's just such a tough, taxing industry. But at the end of the day, if he loves it and it's in his heart, and then I will nurture him and teach him what I can. But he does realise how hard Papa works. If that's what he wants to do, then I'll support him. If he wants to do something else, then I wish him all the best. But hey, that's all I know, and I'll keep going as long as I can.
Well, I'll tell you something before we finish up here. I've had many conversations with Lewis.
Yeah.
He's got wonderful respect for you, and he actually says that you're one of the best chefs in New Zealand.
No.
No, he talks about you all the time, and he's got a lot of respect for you, and he tells me what a great chef you are.
Thank you very much. I'll have to bring him on the show. Like he was one of my mentors, and I treasure everything that he's taught me. And his brother.
I learned a lot from him as well, because we had a short time where we were partners.
Yeah.
Business partners,
Yes.
and he's amazing.
I remember, John, funny thing about him, he's always been the one that just still now, even when I got my own business, he thinks he can tell me off. Like about a year ago, he drove past my restaurant and he rings me on a Tuesday and he goes, "Are you at work?" And I go, "Ciao, couple, how are you?" He doesn't say hello or nothing. He just still, "Are you at work?" And I said, "No, it's Tuesday, 10:30. I just drove past your restaurant and all the pizza boxes in the front window. You need to move them. It's not a good look." Yes, couple, no problem. What can I say to him? I love him.
Yeah, we'll never do. He's a great guy.
But he's tough,
Absolutely, and that's what makes working for him and learning from him so great.
Yeah, those old school guys, I've learned off them, and I respect what they've done, because they were doing what we're doing now a long time ago, way before us. So, I respect old school.
Absolutely, Luca. Thanks for coming on board here. It's great to hear the stories. And,
that's it, John. It's been a pleasure.
Great, and much success to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grazie.